When I was a kid, the majority of my gaming experience came from playing games in the NES and the SNES. When the 3D era of gaming started, however, I completely lost track of Nintendo, meaning I never got to game on the N64 or even the GameCube, and therefore, I didn't really get to play many beloved 3D classics like Banjo-Kazooie. So believe me when I say that when I played Yooka Laylee, it was with no nostalgia and no rose-tinted glasses, as I never even knew what the gameplay in those type of games was like back in the day. I will not lie though, when I saw reviewers and gamers tear this game apart at launch, I thought I was going to experience a real stinker, but my experience with Yooka Laylee couldn't have been more different, making me wonder if either the launch of this game was really bad, or people got really frustrated playing this game. Yooka Laylee has you play as their titular characters. One day after they finish renovating their home and try to think about what to do with an old book they found, said old book gets sucked away into the evil lair of Capital B. Some evil bee that is trying to take over the world by stealing old books apparently. So then Yooka Laylee make it their task to enter the Highbury Towers to get their book back. And that's about it. There's really not much more to the story. If anything, it becomes the perfect excuse to have our heroes go on to adventures to collect both their book and their missing pages, because as I eventually found out, Yooka Laylee is one huge collectathon. This collectathon divides the game into two halves. In the first half, you're collecting pages to unlock new worlds and expand the ones you already have, and you also collect quills, which you can use to buy new skills that will help you traverse the second half of the game. In a way, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this gives the game a slight Metroidvania feel, as you're not gonna be able to complete most of these worlds without either having purchased certain abilities, or by expanding them once you have enough pages. Speaking of pages, obtaining them are the main objective to complete the game. In order to get them, you have to do a number of things, and this is where the game both shines and frustrates. Because on top of being a collectathon, Yooka Laylee is also a compilation of countless minigames and gameplay challenges. Platforming, time trials, fetch quests, you name it, it's there. With such a variety of minigames, it also comes with a mixed bag. The majority of them can be legitimately fun. Same goes with exploring every world and figuring out the puzzles that let you collect the pages. There is a sense of satisfaction when you complete some of those segments, and just exploring the world in general feels really good thanks to the art style. But then, there are those gameplay segments that become more frustrating than fun, and while patience is indeed a factor with games like these, sometimes these can make playing a game feel more like a chore than an actual fun experience. I understand how the developers wanted to bring in that old school feel of challenging gameplay, and trust me, I like some old school challenging gameplay every once in a while, even if it is super hard. But they managed to recreate it to a fault. There is a big difference between something challenging but fair, and just straight up arbitrary unforgiving crap. Now, while I have praised the game for being really good to look at and the worlds being very enjoyable to explore, they also come with a big downside. These worlds are big. They're not exactly massive per se, but traveling through them can bring several pacing issues. Being a collectathon, the more things you find, the emptier the world is going to get, and the bigger the distances you're going to traverse as you keep looking for collectibles you may have missed, becoming an even bigger issue in the expanded worlds when all you have left to collect are quills. Because somehow, for some reason, the developers decided that in order to 100% the game, you have to collect literally everything. I don't have to get into details, but this game has every standard and hidden collectible you can think of. But I do start taking issue with the quills for a simple reason. Each world has 200 of them. Their only real use is to buy the new abilities, and you will have bought all of them by the time you reach the second half of the game, where all the worlds have been expanded, making their collection feel rather redundant. So these little quills are easily the most obnoxious, useless, and arbitrary things you could be asked to find, so you can only imagine the annoyance that it is exploring a now empty map in vain, trying to find the scarce few quills you need in order to get that completionist checkmark. I hate it. I legitimately hate it. But not everything in this game is doom and gloom. As I said, most of the gameplay segments and puzzles are very good, including the boss fights. I was pleasantly surprised when I stumbled upon a boss the first time, and I didn't even know they were in this game. And while fighting them proved to be a bit of a challenge at times, it was actually well worth it, because it felt like I was making important progress if these guys were an actual thing standing in my way. Of course, they were not all perfect, and even the final boss was a bit of a pain to figure out, but getting that sweet victory over them and receiving my page felt as good as it could feel. The best part is, with the exception of the final boss, every one of those bosses was optional, because again, the main goal to beat the game is to gather all the pages and reach the final level. And while indeed you do need them for 100% completion, you don't really have to 100% the game. I don't plan to 100% complete it, and I still felt like I got my fix solving as many puzzles and obstacles as I did. Just gotta ignore the puzzles that frustrate you the most. I really hate you, hurdle hijinks. And just get to the final boss if you feel like you're ready to see the game end. Your playthrough, your rules. Simple as that. Overall, Yooka Laylee has its share of flaws, but it was still a fun experience. It gave me a chance to try a gameplay style from an age I never got to experience myself, and it also offered a pretty charming world with a charming set of characters. The writing and quote-unquote voice acting can be hit or miss, but that honestly comes down to your own personal taste. I found the story to be just silly flavor to give you an excuse to go through the game, and that's perfectly fine, because for me the biggest priority in any game will forever be the gameplay. And for that and several other reasons, I am giving Yooka Laylee a modest but decent 7 out of 10. It gave me my money's worth, and I felt the game was honestly nowhere near as bad as other critics made it out to be. This is one of those instances where I'm among the people who simply like this game for what it had to offer, and it made me look forward to see what Playtonic learned from this game and apply it to their next release, making me look forward to what they have to offer in the near future.